Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline. Um, so I had this topic I wanted to discuss about conservative LGBT people and how to process their mindset, which is very difficult for me. And this topic actually came up because one of someone who watches my videos was defending Blair White and Caitlyn Jenner, which makes absolutely no sense because Blair White has actually made a massive following. It's like what is her name? Candace Owens. It's like conservative people love when a minority stands against a minority because it gives them validation to hate that minority. Like, well, look, this one black person that's, against Black Lives Matter. And then there's this one trans person who's against, LGBTQ people. So it validates their transphobia and they will use whatever they can to validate it. And the reason people react badly, we've gone over this in my videos before, the reason people react badly to certain things or respond with aggression or no intelligence is because they're usually proven wrong, and so they get angry and then they lash out and they say things. Well, just try to go direct insulting with them. So, in this thing with conservative LGBTQ people, so I understand things like tradition, and I kind of like certain things with tradition. I enjoy when the purpose of the tradition is like a wholesome thing. And when you're, like a tradition of, say, like an Italian family in Italy that comes together with all their tomatoes and they make their sauce for, their gravy sauce. And then well, not ferment it, but they bottle it and they jar it and they put it away in their cellar and they use it all winter from the summer's tomatoes. So that kind of tradition that brings people together and makes them more wholesome, I'm all about. But when tradition comes to oppressing a group of people who are who they are, I have issues with that. So when I actually moved back to the town I'm in now, and I had transitioned already at this point, I think it was like 3 years into it, and I didn't look much different than I do now. I just looked younger. So it's not like I didn't pass or fully or anything like that. It was just so the place that I used to work at before I moved, I left. It was a hair salon, and I moved away. And when I came back 3 years later, I was like, I need my job back. And my old boss, well, it was like 4 or 5 years actually, but I transitioned anyway. So it had been a while, and when I came back, my boss didn't want to hire me, and because she was concerned about how heterosexual men would feel about me while I cut their hair. And she was like, "What are you gonna do when you have a straight man in your chair?" And she's a lesbian, a conservative lesbian who likes Trump and all this stuff and doesn't believe Black Lives Matter. It's just so confusing to me when an oppressed person, a minority person, can be so ignorant. And it's just, and you know what it is? It's actually a submissive thing. Like they submit to the oppression because it's never been any other way. Plus, more than likely, their family members think with this mindset, so they don't want to go against their family, or they've respected certain people in the past, and then they find out that these people turned out to be assholes. They can't actually think that that person's an asshole. They actually have no collective confidence of their own to be able to decipher who's an asshole and who's not. And so in this situation with my job, I looked at my old boss and I was like, "What do you mean if I have a straight person in my chair?" And I was like, "I'm gonna suck all their dicks. That's what I'm gonna do." And she's just staring at me in the meeting like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "Anytime a straight man's gonna be in my chair, I'm gonna suck their dick in the bathroom." And she was so horrified. And I was like, "What do you think I was gonna do?" I was like, "I'm gonna cut their hair." I was like, "Why would you even ask this at a meeting?" And this was like 11 years ago. So I was coming from Los Angeles at the time, and I was very progressive mentally for the city I'm in now, and that's the same city I was moving back to. And so I was very progressive then, and I had this mentality of being very progressive, and I just forgot how conservative it was here. And so I had this mentality of like, this is who I am, and I'm confident, and blah blah. And people who are unsure of themselves or who are insecure do not like confident people. And I believe that most conservative LGBTQ people are incredibly insecure. I think the reasoning why is because they lack the confidence, but they get validation from the people they're around that don't accept them. It's a really sad way of looking at it. So, for example, like Blair White, it's come up in conversations. She has deliberately protested at pride parades against like the non-binary community. She has deliberately questioned biological sex. And she doesn't have full surgery. She doesn't have her SRS, and she passes, but like I just don't like her style. She gets on my nerves. She's way too ditzy, and she's way too fake, and she's also lacks any authenticity or self-security. And it's so clear the reason she does this, where she really hates and goes out of her way to try and change other people. The reason she does that is because she doesn't accept herself. And the reason she has all the fakeness to her is because it's a show, it's a facade. And you can actually look at a lot of trans people, and they have this like show, and I have a little bit of as well, and that's where I constantly play with my hair and I make myself look presentable. But I have made videos with you guys where I don't have any makeup on whatsoever, and I'm like sweaty from the gym. And so it is important to remember that this isn't a costume. This isn't because it's invalidating yourself. And so I know I'm a woman, and even if I didn't pass, I would still be a woman. And I wouldn't expect society to accept me. Like in general, I wouldn't expect people to ask my pronouns if I didn't pass and I wasn't committing to a transition and I wasn't on hormones. I would never correct someone's pronouns because it's me, like, I would rather just not get the attention. I just accept it. So if you accept this, you've got to accept that, that part of not transitioning, medically transitioning. But what these conservative people do is they go out of their way to dissect trans people or non-binary people who are coming to terms with accepting themselves and who they are and what makes them happy. And it just so happens that there's a large collective group of people that are doing the same thing in the trans community, like non-binary. And there's a large collective group of people that are doing this, so it gives them an identity, a source of identity. And so people like Blair White go out of their way to deliberately insult or this group of people because their existence doesn't invalidate her. It doesn't. It makes her have to realize that everything she's doing is just a show. It's a performance. It's a character thing, which, if you look into that really deep, it all boils down to the fact that she actually doesn't accept herself for who she is. And that's the most important part of transitioning, is to accept yourself who you are. And so whatever you do, and I always say in my videos, I've criticized some aspects of the non-binary community. I've said things like, I do believe you have to have gender dysphoria to identify as trans. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, people do whatever makes them happy, and that I approve of. And if someone tells me that their pronouns are she and they look like, Gandalf the Grey, I'm random. I will accept their pronouns as being she, and I will use them, and I won't mock them for it. I will just simply say, I don't understand. This is your journey. It's not my journey. And that's it. And that's because I know who I am, and I accept who I am. And I also understand that other people aren't going to accept me. So my issue with the trans and the trans community in general, and non-conforming and non-binary, is that they are expecting other people to accept them. And that is I've gone over this before, is a really sad path to go down. You don't want to go down that path because people will not accept you. So the only person that matters is you accepting yourself. And when you come to terms with accepting yourself, your confidence and your ability to live your life will soar. It's like, it's the secret to my transition. It's the secret to me living my life. I have other issues of my own, yes. But that one thing, believing in myself and confidence, no one could tear me down, no matter what anyone says. Even if someone tells me you are a man and not a woman, it doesn't work on me. It doesn't work anymore because it doesn't matter to me. I know who I am, and I accept myself for who I am. Caitlyn Jenner and Blair White have one big flashing light, and that is they don't accept themselves at all. And so you have two groups of people. They want to force society to accept them without, actually transitioning or doing anything like that, physically altering themselves. And then the other group of people expect the trans community and non-binary community to be in shame of not going through transitioning medically enough. It's a very strange, because it's a self-hatred thing. So it's quite fascinating when you really think about it. The other one that, Caitlyn Jenner, for example, she supports all these conservative bathroom bills and sports, like trans women not in sports. And so, and all sorts of other stuff. She's just very conservative, that it does affect minorities, and I don't understand how you can be a minority and not champion the courage of other minorities. It's bizarre. So like the one thing like I can't understand is like the African American community is very unaccepting of gay and trans people. They're so unaccepting. They're fine with it, but they're not accepting, especially with family members and stuff like that. So the African American community is really bad at accepting that, but they are a minority, and I always have a very hard time understanding why a minority doesn't accept another minority. And that's a topic for another day. But trans people do it to each other deliberately. They don't accept. I accept anyone for whatever they want to do. I just don't understand it sometimes, and that's just simply purely maybe my ignorance. But I would never want to force someone to change their mind because I don't believe what they believe is right. That's what crazy people do. That's what these like televangelists and crazy Christians that talk to snakes and shit. That's what they do. They believe that they are right and everyone else is wrong, and that just is it's a very sad place to be because you'll die miserable that way. Okay, so that subject is over now, and I have another subject that's in my personal life, and it has advanced, the little couple situation. It slowed down substantially because I think these two people thought it was just going to be fun. And then the girl started really trying to hit on me on social media. And so I couldn't find the time where we could all just meet up. So I just told her, I was like, look, I'm very attracted to your boyfriend, Connor, and I'm very attracted to her. And so she was on board with it, but I had to inform her that I'm not into polyamory and I'm not into people just sleeping with other people. I'm into a closed throuple situation with 3 people, but I want to take them both on a date on me, and I'm taking both of them out to dinner at to a place here where I live, and it's a really nice place, and I'm gonna talk to them about it, and I also have to like come up with questions. I have questions to ask them because I've never done anything like this where it's like pursuing 2 people in a relationship. She's incredibly emotional. He's incredibly unemotional, and they've had issues. And I feel like I could maybe go on a date with her separately as well, and then go on a date with him, and then the 3 of us could like start bonding that way. And it could be a very interesting journey for me. I've never gone into a throuple, or I've never even had a threesome. It came close, but I didn't like one of the people, and I liked the other person, and the other person liked the person I didn't like, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave the room. So I just got up and left. So I've never done anything like that, but this situation's different because I'm having like an actual emotional connection to this girl and this guy, and there's chemistry and there's butterflies, which are nothing more than the common sense just leaving your body. But I'm very excited. So this weekend I'll be taking them both on a date. Anyway, I hope all of you are well. This video actually seemed to flow really well. The topics just came off and my personal life just came out. Sometimes I make videos and I'm like, you're making no sense, bitch. But like this one, I'm actually kind of proud of this video. I feel like this one actually got across my point, and I feel quite confident in it. So anyway, I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope they're enjoying the autumn season. I would call it autumn with my South African accent, but I'm hoping everybody's enjoying the weather change, and they take care and stay healthy. Go to the gym, drink your water, stop complaining, and do what you got to do. All right, bye.